I can taste your words. I can taste your words.
Welcome to the Easy Answer Podcast. I'm Brandy, plant-based chef.
And I'm Vonanise, plant-based adjacent.
On this podcast, we explore thought-provoking conversations around food
and simple ways to stay healthy in this crazy world.
Hey everybody! So it is National Diabetes Month, and we felt that as a show that encourages people to include more plants in their diet, that we had to kind of kick off the month and let everybody know that plant-based diets are really great to help manage diabetes. Vaughn,
Yes.
how are you today?
I'm great, and I'm happy that we're talking about this today because, in my family, diabetes runs on both sides. Someone on my father's side has it, and someone on my mother's side. So I have to be especially conscientious about making sure that I stay healthy.
Yeah, same. Both sides of my family. I can't think of one. There are some family members who don't, but the majority of my family on both sides have diabetes, which is.
And even it's not even okay, so like my auntie, she's not in the same generation as me. Mm-hmm. But then I have a sister that has diabetes, Mm-hmm. So, it's very close to it's very it's on my mind. And I went to the doctor probably a year ago, and y'all know I do not like needles. We've had this conversation extensively about she told me that I told her what was going on with me. She told me that I was starting to show the signs of someone that might be pre-diabetic. And I've told the story before, and I'm a relatively thin person. I wear a size 6. But when she told me that, I'm trying to get a blood test because I don't want to do needles like that. And nothing was about to get cut off. So what I did was all right, so you need to run around the block more. You need to, drink more water, and try to push down my sugar palate.
And what were some of those signs that you noticed that you said, just so some people who may be having the signs may
Yes. Okay. So I was one of those people that always wanted breasts, right? I was like, yes, I want boobs. I used to ask my mother, you think I'm gonna have big boobs? You think I'm gonna have, when I was younger, it was insane. So I hit a certain age and my breasts got bigger, but under my breast, I started to get a little rash, and it was a dark line. It was a rash, but that was because, and she said that could be from my sugar intake. Right?
Okay.
And another thing, this might be TMI, but I was getting a lot of yeast infections. Mm-hmm. I was like, what's happening in my world? And she was like, both of those signs together are signs that you might be pre-diabetic. So we want to take blood work. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm good on that. I'm just going to eat less sugar, consult Brandy, push my sugar palate down. Okay.
Got it. And so what did you decide to do in order to kind of move into this new lifestyle that you're in now?
Yeah, I did. I pushed my sugar palate down. I thought about being vegan. It was can't really do it because I like fish and chicken. And vegetarian. I was a pescatarian before. So then that's when I came up with the idea of plant-based adjacent. That's a hashtag that I came up with, hashtag plant-based adjacent. Look, we have merchandise that says it. All right.
Look at that.
And we're wearing the t-shirts. Can they see your t-shirt? Yeah.
All right.
And it helped me to and for me, that means vegan didn't work for me. I could do meatless Monday once, or I could do once a week. I don't have to have vegetables. I don't have to have meat with every meal, but sometimes I crave meat. So vegan didn't work for me. All right. And then eggs, I don't know if I could give up eggs. Unless I see a chicken get killed, then I'm off of them for 3 months. But that's a whole nother story. Okay. But then vegetarian, I'm not really a fan of cheese, and a lot of vegetarians, they eat cheese, and I'm dairy doesn't really work with me. So then plant-based adjacent works best for me because it's just I sort of think of it with every meal, you try to incorporate 2 vegetables.
Mm-hmm. So think of somebody who wakes up now and has bacon, pancakes, eggs for breakfast. how or what vegetable would you recommend like them adding into that experience?
Okay, so bacon. You said bacon, eggs, and pancakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so like in your eggs, I would scramble some spinach in them.
Okay.
All
Got it.
right. So put spinach in your eggs or spinach and mushrooms, and you have like a spinach mushroom sort of like an omelet. I don't eat cheese, dairy cheese, but you could have, regular cheese. Or another thing that I've been doing is like in my I'll have like before I eat anything, I'll have like cucumber. Like I'll just cut up cucumber and eat a half a cucumber.
Mhm.
Or I'll get like the bags of salad from Costco. They need to sponsor us because we are Costco shoppers. All right. And I'll eat that before I eat anything else.
Mhm.
And I'll throw away like, it'll have like goat cheese or whatever. A
Mhm.
lot of times I'm not gonna have the goat cheese. I'll let that go and I'll just have the salad. And I realized that I do like salad with hot food. Like when you go to a buffet that we said was dead, but these people did not die actually. I
No.
see people going to buffets. Have
All
you
the
gone to a
time.
buffet?
Without covers and everything post COVID. It's crazy.
But when I went to buffets on a regular basis, I like the salad with the hot food. So that's one thing that I noticed that I would always get whenever I went to a buffet. And so now I incorporate that into my diet now. It's
Okay.
been very helpful.
Cool. That's sweet. I love that. All right. And as you guys see, like adding in vegetables to breakfast wasn't hard. And it's not something that you think about. A lot of times with breakfast, we don't think about adding veggies into breakfast, but just something as simple as adding spinach and mushrooms to your eggs just gave you two, vegetables at once, which is to start your day.
Or you could add like half an apple, and that's a fruit, but it's really good for you. Like you could just add an apple. Like you could have like an apple. Like honestly, I could have an apple with coffee and be good for breakfast.
Yeah.
That's a good breakfast to me. Plain yogurt with cantaloupe, but the yogurt will be coconut based.
Which is cool. I like coconut based yogurt.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
So Delicious has a good one too.
They do. I do. I know we another potential sponsor plug, Coco June. If you're
Oh my God, that's like we're like Coco June like stalkers. Like we love them so much,
we need to reach out to their marketing department and be like, listen, can we do a campaign with you guys? So
Okay.
yeah, so Coco June, hands down. For me, it's the creme de la creme of plant-based yogurt. But I agree with you with the So Delicious coconut base. I think it's great. It has the mouth feel, it has the creaminess.
And you don't even need, you could just get the plain one because of course it has coconut milk in it, so it doesn't taste quite, to me, as sour as the milk based one.
Right. Yeah. It's not as hard. Yeah, it has that. Yeah, you're great. It balances that out.
Yes, definitely. So I don't really need to add much to it,
Yeah.
And that was what when I used to have like regular yogurt, dairy yogurt, I would always feel like I needed to put honey or something in it. But with Coco June and So Delicious, I don't feel like I have to do that.
Oh, God, that stuff is delicious.
I know, right?
No, because Easy Answer Podcast, we always bring other people into the conversation. Vaughn and I start the conversation off, but we don't like to just end it there. We like to continue the conversation and add other people's experiences into the conversation. So today we have KB who's going to be joining us for the conversation. So welcome, KB, to the Easy Answer Podcast.
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up just like everybody else, eating meat and chicken and pork and blah, blah, blah. My story wasn't necessarily quite about health, but it turned into health. So initially it started off just about me growing my hair. And a friend of mine was like, listen, just promise me you'll give up pork before you start growing your locks. And I was just like, all right, whatever. I had a Muslim friend that was stressing about not eating pork. Her family didn't eat pork. So, the pork taste kind of started tasting different to me. So when he challenged me to do it, I was just like, all right. So I've been growing my hair 21 years. So I haven't eaten pork in 22 years. Then it got to the point where I was just like, I don't really eat a lot of turkey. I don't really eat a lot of beef, but I found that I was only really eating beef when I went to fast food restaurants. So instead of me getting hamburgers, I started substituting everything chicken. Yeah. And so then it got to the point I was chickened out. chickened out. I was
Yeah.
Right?
it was crazy. So I met a guy, and he challenged it, another challenge, another guy. And he was just like, "Well, why don't you just give up the chicken?" And I said, "Well, what am I going to eat?" Vegetarian wasn't really a popular thing. This is like 2004. So it was, well, not in our community. It wasn't something that I had really heard of like that. I heard of it a little bit, but not much. And I didn't know anyone that was doing that. Everyone that was around me ate everything. And so when he challenged me, I was just like, "Hey, I'm kind of chickened out, so I'll go ahead and try it." But what ended up happening was it allowed me to start to explore other cultures and their food. And not to mention, just like you all said, diabetes ran in my family. My sugar intake was extremely out of control. And I always understood that it wasn't necessarily it runs in the family. It doesn't run in the family. What we eat runs in the family. And it was just like we're all eating snacks. And I even noticed when my cousins and my aunties would come and visit, they would have a car full of cookies and chips and candy. And I'm like, when we go see them, it's the same thing. When they come see us, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
We all eat like this. I'm
Yeah.
guaranteed to go in your house and you have snacks. You're guaranteed to come in my house and I have snacks. It was just like all of us did that. But diabetes ran in our family. My grandmother, all my aunts and uncles, and they all died from it. So I was just like, somebody got to break this chain. No, none of the cousins are doing it. I guess I got to be the first one. So it was really easy for me to accept the challenge of saying, "Hey, give that up." But then with the working out on top of it, it was like, well, how much further can I go? And not only did he introduce the vegetarian side of things, the working out, but then he introduced fasting to me. And I was like, fasting? I've heard of fasting, but I never did it. So putting all those pieces together and seeing the discipline of, fasting and how much self-control you have to fast. And then it kind of went over into my vegetarian life. And there's plenty of cookouts and parties that I've gone to that everyone's eating. And I'm like, it's nothing I can eat.
Right.
Okay, because I'm used to fasting.
Aren't you a pescatarian now, if I'm mistaken? No? Or
Yes,
vegetarian?
I'm a pescatarian. I didn't go full vegan because, for one, I didn't know any vegans. I didn't know any recipes. I didn't know any of that. So it was just more like just cut out the land animals. If you can cut out the land animals, that's even a step towards better health. And so I did see big results from that.
That's
But
true.
even
So
with
you're
the seafood, it's kind of
plant-based, right?
I'm plant-based Jason for sure. I'm eating all the sides. The sides are usually vegetables, so it works out.
Yeah, cool. Question, KB. Can you talk like when you're talking about fasting, what type of fasting are you doing? Are you doing intermittent fasting or
So this particular fast was for Ramadan. So it was 30 days, sun up to sundown. The first couple of years that I did it, it was literally nothing to eat, nothing to drink from sun up to sundown. Over time, I started to adjust it a little bit because I'm not necessarily Muslim, even though I understand Muslim just means surrender to the will of God. Boom, I get that, but that's not my practice. And so I kind of tweaked it a little bit where I still do sun up to sundown. I will drink water though. I won't eat all day and I won't drink juice or coffee or anything, but I'll drink water because I find that I will get dehydrated. And so that's not necessarily good either. So I kind of tweaked it a little bit, but it's still sun up to sundown for 30 days.
okay? Nice.
That's really good.
Cool. And I love your share with when you were exploring life without meat, it opened you up to see what else was out there because we get so used to eating the stuff that we grew up eating like that. And I totally resonate with that because
Definitely.
that's how I ended up where I am today. Like it was one of those things where it's like if I eat chicken, vegetables, and starch one more time, I'm gonna go crazy.
Well, y'all are both from Maryland. Did you know that Brandy's from Baltimore and Keisha, KB, I met her in college. And she's from the Maryland area too. So both of you are from the same area. And let me tell you something. When I was in that area, I don't understand how y'all ever gave up pulled pork. Like it's delicious.
Yeah, so many people migrated from the South and brought all that good Southern food up.
Yes.
I mean, we South for the Mason-Dixon, but we really not South. Like I know people like to play Maryland and be like, "Oh, y'all South." No, we South for the Mason-Dixon.
So one thing that I did notice when I started to explore more plant-based life, just because it's vegetables, we automatically think vegetables is healthy, but just because it's vegetables doesn't mean it's healthy. Because Indian people put so much sauce in their vegetables, they're not necessarily healthier because they have all that sauce. you know?
Like vegetables by themselves, you can't just say vegetables are in it, therefore they are healthy. Because like
But that's what you think when you eat meat.
But a lot of people even think that just because you become vegetarian that you won't gain weight. But what happens is you don't really know what you're eating. And they think if I just cut out the meat, I can eat everything else. So they eat pasta and cheese and all this bread and all eggs and dairy and all this stuff. And then wonder why they're quote unquote vegetarian, but they still heavy. And so when you
Yeah.
get to the real side, veggie side of being a vegetarian, you'll see a big difference than just saying, "Hey, I just don't eat meat, but I eat everything else." I think
That's
people
true.
understand that.
yeah,
People
that's
do. And it's like a doctor once said, have you ever seen a skinny cow? And they're vegetarians, okay?
But we
Once
drink their
that
milk
said that
and
to
we
me,
wonder why we're chunky. We wonder why our babies are chunky. And you're giving them cow's milk, wonder why they have runny noses all the time because you're giving them something that doesn't belong in their body. And then as adults, we still eating it and we have runny noses and we're chunky and we don't understand it because as soon as you cut the dairy out, you immediately see the difference.
you do.
Immediately.
Yeah, and it's funny too because even if it sneaks in like things that you don't know, because sometimes you end up in situations where you're like somebody doesn't tell you that something has, or you assume because there are things logically that you don't think of. Even last night when we have an Indian, like non bread wouldn't seem like there's dairy in it, but non bread is made with yogurt. So you could be going out having an all to be veggie diet, have some non bread and think you're good, and then you're mucusy the next day and don't know why. But even when especially when you take it out, when you sneak dairy back in, your body's like, you don't want anything
What is
to
going
do.
on here?
yes, I noticed that too. And when I went to take I remember I had to take the COVID test because I felt like I was exposed. So there's a pizza spot right by where you think, so like say the COVID test is on, it's 2 avenues away, it's on the pizza spot is 2 blocks away. So I got off the train, I haven't had pizza in a while. I ate a slice of pizza. I went and took the test, and she didn't even have to go all the way up in my nose. There was so much mucus.
And you just had it.
And I literally just had it,
No, it's
And I was
crazy.
like, see, that's the win-win. That's the benefits of, having dairy every once in a while,
But even people forget about butter. People don't realize butter is dairy too, and there's so many things that have dairy in it we don't even realize it because butter is a thing. We put butter on everything. We cook it everything with butter, and then wonder why again you got this runny nose. And so I think once we have more knowledge of what is actually dairy and how to substitute it or not eat it at all, then we can kind of get rid of the puffiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then
We
not just
call
that.
health.
I mean,
Or call thick.
like you said, when you cut out certain things out of your diet and you're puffy, like too much rice and bread, that will make you puffy. And people think, oh, I don't want to eat too many starches, so they want to give up potatoes. But potatoes have a lot of other vitamins, as Brandy, the potato advocate, will say. You would think she's from Ireland. She loves potatoes.
Yeah,
We will not come for the potato. We will not have you put butter, bacon, cheese, sour cream on a potato and then say the potato made you fat. You're not going to do that.
That's the argument.
It's not the potatoes what you put on it.
Exactly.
Yes. But rice and bread with every meal, when you put that in your body, it translates to sugar, and that really is not good for people who are pre-diabetic or diabetic.
Especially if you're not coupling that with an excessive amount of vegetables.
Vegetables, yeah.
Having a starch is an issue, right? Starches, we need carbohydrates in order to produce energy. So avoiding them exclusively isn't necessarily a good thing because they're part of the nutrient triad that we need to be healthy. But you can't just eat them alone. Like you have to have them with some type of plant-based food in order for it to make sense in your body.
Definitely. And I understand. I know what you're saying. Once I said I was on an in the zone diet, I was in this infomercial, and no rice, no bread, no pasta. We just ate what was in the box, and I lost so much weight, but for my body, I'm like losing I'm a relatively thin person, so I lost like 12 pounds. But for me, that was like wonderful, because I was like long and lean. just from no rice, no bread, no pasta. So when they taught me how to eat, I know that if I want to drop weight, all I have is to cut out the rice, bread, pasta, no dairy, and not too many sweets because I can go off the deep end with sweets. Like,
Well, we did just do an episode on sugar, so we know how addictive sugar can be. So, give yourself some grace with sugar. But no, that is something that you definitely wanna limit because of its long-term effects on breaking the body down.
So what I've tried before, and it typically has worked for me because I do this yo-yo thing where I'm in and out with the sugar because it's just in my body. So what I typically try to do is I do sugar first. I'll give up the sugar. And then for the first 30 days, I'll say no sugar and I can eat carbs, dairy, whatever. And then the next 30 days, I typically give up the carbs. So it's no sugar and no carbs. And then the next 30 days, I'll say no carbs, no sugar, no dairy. And to see that it's almost like instead of going cold turkey because our body is craving all this stuff that we're addicted to, I give myself a chance to wing off of it versus saying I'm gonna give it all up at one time, and then it's harder to resist all of that your body is craving.
yeah,
And so it works for me, and I think that's part of why we fail trying to eat healthy because we're just gonna cut it all out. That's not how it works. If someone's on drugs, they don't just cut it out. They got to kind of wing off of the addiction. And I think that we misunderstand with these diets. I'm gonna just cut it out. It's like, no, give yourself some, a little bit of wiggle room and
Yeah.
ease out. I did that with the meat. I gave up pork, then turkey, then red meat, then chicken, and so it was easier for me to stick it out long term. First time, I'm gonna give it all up at one time, and now I want it all and I can't have it, and then you end up binging.
Yeah, and that's I like that too. And also remembering that if you do fall off because we're human, right? Just get back up. It's cool if you made a commitment and you whatever. I'm gonna do this thing for whatever, and then one day you slip up, so to say. Don't just keep slipping up, so to say. It's just like
Get back.
forward. Yeah, just get back, and because we know the faster you get back, the easier it is to kind of continue it. So yeah,
and another thing I've noticed is that if I when it comes to all of these things, I mean, when we did we're doing a sugar challenge, Randy, KB. We're doing a sugar challenge, so maybe you'll join us on our sugar free for 30 days challenge.
it's
What is this? And what is this? Oh my goodness, I'm up. I'm up though. I'm down.
Yeah, January 2022 is when it's going to start. We'll have details available soon.
Yes. And so we'll all join together as a community and we'll talk about sugar. And that's really a challenge for me because I have sugar problems and I didn't get, Brandy, Brandy likes to make fun of me and say like, you got withdrawal, you was getting the shakes. It wasn't that bad, but it was almost that bad.
I understand. Trust me. I literally have to talk. I'm like, no, and point at a wall. You are the enemy right now.
But if we could just give up something like sugar, it could help. Like I heard that sugar is not good for your like it's great, like not good for your skin and what it does to you as you get older, it creates, it's not good for your joints, and we're all getting older, we're not getting younger, Well, I mean, I'm getting younger, I don't know about y'all.
I'm about to keep that. So I have a question as the expert, as someone that is trying to get off sugar. What are some ways that we can start to, I guess, substitute or have other supplements to kind of release the cravings? Or is there anything like that at all?
So for me, I would say I like your kind of approach where you get rid of it for a month just to kind of see like how it feels and become more aware of where sugar lives because sugar creeps. Like you will not like when you go on a sugar free challenge, you start reading labels, something has sugar in it, you're like, what?
It's insane.
It's like 7 grams, 14 grams.
Like I did a sugar challenge over the summer. Vaughn and I had gone out and I was like, we got fries and I'm like, okay, some heavy ketchup. So I'm like, let me get some hot sauce. They brought the hot sauce over. The hot sauce had sugar in it. So I'm like, who would have even thought that hot sauce would have sugar in it?
It's nothing sweet about hot sauce.
Yes, that's what they discussed in that explained episode, that 3/4 of the food on shelf has sugar in it.
Yeah.
That only leaves 1/4 of us to eat, and that's probably produce.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. So I would say,
Some produce has sugar, but not
yeah,
it's just not.
Yeah.
natural sugar. So that's a great point, because what I say is that whenever, especially you're challenging yourself to stay away from sugar, the cravings are still there. You can't really get rid of them. But what you can do is replace them with a natural sugar. And sugar attached to fiber is okay. So like there's always a conversation about get rid of sugar, get rid of sugar. But sugar, yet again, carbohydrate. Carbohydrate attached to fiber, meaning sugar that's in a fruit, sugar that's in some vegetables that have sugar. Roasted vegetables are a great way to kind of get that. I mean, it's not like I'm not going to sell roasted vegetables are the same as eating a piece of cake, right? But that
She
caramelization,
tries to. She tries.
anyway, that that happens during the process, is that play with things like vinegar. Seems weird, but like a white balsamic vinegar has a nice sweetness to it if you're craving sugar, kind of like adding that to something. And then leaning into foods like mangoes, pineapples, and dates. Like those things are really high in sugar, but they also have a lot of good like enzymes, minerals, and fiber in them that will soothe your craving. Like while you're trying to get rid of the processed sugar. Because I think that's the narrative we want to shift. It's not get rid of sugar, it's get rid of sugar, added sugar, and sugar that's detached from fiber.
Definitely.
Right. So thank you so much, KB, for joining us for this episode of the Easy Answer podcast. We enjoyed the conversation. I think committing to a plant-based adjacent lifestyle. Right?
That's right. And all of us started out with parents that weren't vegetarian and vegan. We all started out eating like every other Black person in America. And if we transition, yes, if we did it, then anyone can do it, right?